with the rise 4 years ago with Classic Man,
Right.
it was fast for me. It was my first song I ever published. So I needed some space, and in doing so, I found like this secret power that I think our people and myself included harnessed that power and then came back with it. And so I'm happy to be here and share it with the world. I've been gone for a little bit.
I was gonna ask, where have you been, man?
I spent half a year in West and Southern Africa. Yeah.
Why?
Well, you know, number one, I honestly needed the free space and freedom of mind. I took a page out of a few of my friends. Dave Chappelle, Kendrick Lamar actually did this as well right before he recorded To Pimp a Butterfly. Mos Def did it. So I was like, all right, some of the guys before me did it. Let me see what happens with me.
Did you write any music while you were over there?
Oh, yeah. So we started a project in Atlanta. And when I left Atlanta, I went to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, got on a direct flight. And that's where I did the majority of the album was on the continent and Atlanta, and then some in Brooklyn and LA.
Wow. I was gonna ask you what 85 to Africa meant. Like,
in a literal sense, it's that the interstate that takes you directly to the airport. You can get on the 85 and go straight to Africa. But in a figurative sense, it's the highway and the road across the Atlantic for the diaspora to unite with the continent. Right. So for me, that is the single most important thing as a group of people that we could be focusing on.
You mentioned about focus, man. I didn't know where your focus was for a little bit because you were doing the acting thing and the music. Like, how were you able to do both?
There's a lot of people that have done it. When Tupac first came out and he was actually doing his interview on MTV,
right.
He was already acting.
True.
I just wanted to make sure the world knew the music first,
right.
And I think they know Classic Man but didn't know Jidenna.
Right.
So this album is gonna show them Jidenna.
Right. You know, I think a lot of people were surprised to find out, like, yo, this guy has bars. But do you feel like your style was kind of like overshadowing or like dominating the conversation at a point?
I remember having a conversation with an exec that will remain unnamed.
Okay.
Who had a conversation about whether or not a song should be bigger than an artist or an artist should be bigger than a song. I think the song was bigger than the artist. For sure. And so what happened is one day of the week or one moment in my life or one bit of my wardrobe was blown up. Now I can show them that suit I still got, but I want to show the rest of the wardrobe. And also I'm a big fan of like vintage looks, and James Dean and Marlon Brando right now, when they first came out with the t-shirt, I like how they flipped it. They tucked it in. It was still neat, but still street. So I like that balance, and that's what I'm doing now, but I'm flipping it where I'm putting the African spice on it.
There you go. Are people surprised when they see you in the streets without like the suits and stuff like that?
Nah, I thought they would be, but with the help of some people on social media, a couple pictures went viral, and so people were like, oh, okay, cool. He's not in that, and I actually like to see him out of that more. And that's my goal with this project, is just to humanize myself and make sure people can touch me and I'm accessible.
Right. African Spice, obviously you have Nigerian roots. What do you feel about the rise of afrobeats?
I think it's a sign of the times.
Right.
It shows that a few things. One, that the fact that Americans are more into afrobeats than ever before shows that America is changing into a more international country.
Yeah.
Two, Afrobeats also shows the power of Africa. I think that the continent as a whole, African music as a whole, it's a symbol of what I think the continent can bring to the world.
So like even with this project, like it feels like it has a focus on women. Is that fair to say?
I would say there's some focus on women, and then naturally, but there's also a focus on the larger mission. So anybody who knows me knows this 85 to Africa thing, that's what I've been talking about since I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And then, of course, I hit puberty, and then it was all about girls, girls, girls. So it's always been those two. And everybody I love, from Fela to Pac to Marley, that was their balance.
Right. On the beginning of 85 to Africa, you talk about how you were evicted from your mansion in Atlanta. Like, was that based on a true story?
Yeah, it's based on a true story. So a couple years ago, it was a shady landlord that wasn't paying the mortgage. So I was leasing the crib while I was working on Project One. and I didn't know that he had foreclosed.
Wow.
So we heard a knock on the door, boom, boom, boom. Officers, sheriffs, and then there was these like super like Georgian like country folk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And not the country folk you want to see that were smiling as they were holding these little auction papers because they had auctioned the house without us knowing. So I left and literally didn't know exactly where to go, didn't have a home.
That's
literally
crazy.
hopped on the I-85 and went to the airport, took a flight, and just stayed in Southern Africa mostly. And then I was there for a while. So people was like, where you been? Yeah, that's where I was. Because
Right.
you know what it is? It's like, it's one thing to be displaced out of your crib.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing like to see people that are like the quintessential racist white Southerners that are smiling and happy. And something about that, like, as a black person in this country, it did something for us. There's trauma associated with that. And so we was out. We literally was like, all right. And you got Trump out here saying, go back to where you from, go back. And we take offense. I don't anymore.
Right.
When I was a kid, they said, go back to Africa. Now I'm like, all right.
I'm out.
All right, I like it.
Wow. You also locked in with Young Guru, I saw on Instagram. That's Jay-Z's longtime engineer.
Yeah, I mean, like, since a kid, I've been admiring, obviously, Jay-Z. So you hear about Guru in Jay-Z's music, you see Guru, and then to have him mix your album after Meek's album
Man.
and Rhapsody's album, it was an honor. Guru got it sounding like, we've never heard the music sound this good.
Wow. What does Janelle Monáe think of it?
Oh, Janelle love it. She jamming. And when Janelle, you know how when Janelle get on the couch and like stand on it,
Right.
and just start throwing the red cups around, like that's when you know you got a jam.
Oh, so she's still involved with the process and everything?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yo, and before we get out of here, I know earlier this year you were affected by the passing of Nipsey Hussle. I saw that you talked about that a little bit on your Instagram. You said that, you know, he was like a model for you.
Yeah.
What do you mean? In what ways?
Since I was young and came to this country, there was a concept of a chief that's in some ways like an African Don, but a chief's really a Don, mayor, and a priest all in one. And when I would walk around the neighborhoods, there was OGs that stood with a certain posture. They was upright. Everything was buttoned up. They was clean.
Right.
They might be at the party, but they had a certain dominance. And in my mind, that was a chief. Nip was a chief, like as if in terms of hip hop, that's how he moved. And most importantly, even beyond that, he was always trying to grow and learn, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's what I think in these times, we got to have more grace and mercy with people. Not everybody perfect.
That's a fact. Talk to me about some of the visuals for the project.
So we did a couple records, a couple music videos for Tribe and Sufi Woman. The overall theme is to show the culture that I'm from, the culture that a lot of it is Brooklyn based, but it lives in the different cities I lived in, Atlanta, Oakland, LA. And this culture is to me the most important thing about these videos. I didn't get into this game to be a star. I didn't get into this game just to entertain. I know I'm in the entertainment business, but I could have been in any business, to be honest. But entertainment was something I picked because I loved music, number one. But two, I wanted to get the message across before I died. So I'll tell you, to black people, people of African descent, brown people, the most important thing that we can do is make sure that we understand that Africa is where your power is at. The Africa within you. When you say that's black AF, it's because it's African AF.
Right.
When you feel like foreign in this country, is because you are African. And that power, you will never say you're a minority again.
Right.
So that's what this project about. And I'm be yapping until the day I leave this earth because that's what I'm here to do.
Right. Do you feel like the trip has sparked this awakening?
What it did was reaffirm myself. But I've known this since I was young. I swear, this is my life mission. That's number one mission. The second mission is, as men, we have to progress. A lot of men are hurting, don't know how to deal with their emotions, and I get it. Me too. Right. But we have to progress because hurt people, and the world is too imbalanced. There's too much that we need in this country. These are the things I care about, honestly.
Man.
At the end of the day, we could talk about music, and I love it. Jam to it. But if you ain't listening to me, then I'm in the wrong business.
Jidenna 2020.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it, man.